Hello, this is our first video. We hope you enjoy it. We have videos every Friday and Sunday at 8:00 p.m. The text of the story will be included in the description. The Echo Walker. Deep within an ancient, dense forest known as the Eternal Silence lay a narrow dirt road that drivers only used in dire emergencies. Legends said the forest swallowed time and trapped sound within its depths. Liam, a young man fleeing Chicago after a bad breakup and financial ruin, had driven his worn-out Jeep onto this road, hoping for a shortcut. The cold autumn air set golden leaves dancing, but upon entering the eternal silence, it was as if a thick curtain had been drawn. No birds sang, no insects chirped. Only the sound of the wind through the tall, dark pines could be heard. The Jeep suddenly stalled. Thick smoke billowed from under the hood. Liam punched the steering wheel in frustration. His iPhone had no signal. He had no choice but to walk. Darkness fell quickly. A thick white fog blanketed the forest like a shroud. Using his phone's flashlight as his only source of light, he pressed forward. The silence was heavy, suffocating. Suddenly, a twig snapped in the distance. He stopped. The sound stopped too. He started walking again, but this time he noticed the sound of his footsteps on the dry leaves wasn't alone. Something or someone was moving behind him with the exact same rhythm and pace. The faster he walked, the faster the steps behind him became. His heart hammered against his ribs. He spun around, shining the light into the darkness. There was nothing, only fog and trees. Desperate and terrified, he stumbled upon an old, dilapidated cabin. Its wooden door was slightly ajar, swinging gently on its hinges. Perhaps he could shelter there until morning. Inside, the cabin was thick with dust. Broken chairs, a rusted metal-framed bed, and a large, tarnished standing mirror with a stained, murky surface stood in the corner. Liam shoved the door shut as firmly as he could and crouched behind a broken table, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Suddenly, he heard a soft, staticky whisper, a single word. Liam. It was a dry, raspy voice, like a whisper from the grave. The blood in his veins ran cold. The voice had said his name. How was that possible? Cautiously, he rose from behind the table and crept toward the window. The fog was too dense to see anything, but the voice came again, this time closer and clearer, as if right outside the window. Liam, play with me. A shiver racked his spine. At that moment, his eyes were drawn to the standing mirror. In its dark, distorted reflection, he didn't see his own image. Instead, he saw a tall, slender shadow standing outside, its head tilted toward the window, looking in. Liam screamed and scrambled for the door. He pushed and pulled with all his might, but the door was immovable, as if it were made of stone. He was hyperventilating. He looked back at the mirror. This time, the shadow was no longer outside. It was standing directly behind his own reflection in the cabin, its featureless face hovering just over his shoulder. He watched, paralyzed, as the reflection of the shadow's long, thin arm slowly rose in the mirror. In the real world, he felt an icy, skeletal finger trace a line down the back of his neck. A new sound filled the dead silence of the cabin. It wasn't a whisper, but a perfect, synchronized echo of his own frantic, wheezing breaths coming from right behind him. The last thing Liam ever saw was his own wide, terrified eyes in the mirror and the dark, hollow pits where the shadow's eyes should have been, staring back. The last thing he ever heard was his own scream, perfectly echoed a fraction of a second later, before the forest reclaimed its eternal silence.